Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking About Regeneration, the podcast that's about stem cells, gene therapy, and all things regenerative medicine, with perhaps some other fun stuff thrown in for good measure. I'm Kevin McCormack, the Director of Patient Advocacy at the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine, or CIRM. We're California's stem cell agency, and we have $5.5 billion to change the face of medicine as we know it. And this podcast will introduce us to some of the people who are helping us do just that. Enjoy the show. Our guest today is a really remarkable man. Sean Entin turned his own misfortune into something truly positive and has been using it ever since to help others. Back in 2011, Sean suffered a stroke. It was almost fatal and left Sean with some pretty devastating deficiencies. But Sean, as you're going to learn, is not someone who lets things stop him. Ever since then, he has been working hard to help boost his own recovery and to create a program to help others recovering from a stroke. Sean, welcome to Talking About Regeneration. We're delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's great to be here, Kevin.
Great. So your journey began back in 2011. Walk us through what happened.
I was on top of the world. I was 39 at the time. I had everything. I was married at the time. I lived in San Diego. I had two young kids, one that was 4 years old, the other one, which was 18 months. And I was very active in the community, working with the military and just working, building my companies and just, going along as life just allows you to permit. I worked very hard to get to where I was. I was a managing member of two companies, both that I was just taken from private to public entities. One was in the energy efficiency business. We're taking people's homes and basically just taking them almost off the grid or working with them to lower their energy consumption and, just reducing the carbon footprint. And the other one, it was exactly opposite. It was, I would say opposite. It was, I was in business with Shaquille O'Neal, actually, and we created a tequila company. It was actually called Shaquilla. And we lived,
of course.
And yeah. And it was just, life was fun and life was just great. And I was in great shape. I didn't have a concern in the world. And I was happy being a dad and being, a partner with two companies and really just working in the community, working with the veterans and the military. And I love life. I mean, we were either at SeaWorld every other day or the beach, and one child was on my chest and another child was on my shoulders. And I started to train in mixed martial arts and jujitsu and started to take some of the SEALs I was working with along for the ride. And one day in training, I got choked out.
And what happened then? What did that do?
The carotid artery on the right side of my neck got dissected. Oh. And it's common to have, common in jujitsu, it's common to have what's either a submission or you get choked out. So it's a routine, everyday occurrence. It sounds a lot horrible than what it actually is. But in my case, the choke was probably pushed too hard or the arm to the carotid artery. And I came home on that night and said to my ex-wife at the time, I said, listen, something's going on with my neck. I feel something in my throat that doesn't feel right. And she encouraged me to go to the doctor, but being superhuman and being immortal, I was like, you know what? I can beat this. This is nothing. It's another bruise. Didn't think anything about it. And 6 weeks post, right around Thanksgiving of 2011, I had what's called a massive stroke. So the carotid artery burst and said clots up to my brain. And the paramedics, I was staying at our friend's house in Paso Robles, which is like middle of California at the time. Went there with the kids to take them for Thanksgiving. We were having some wine, celebrating the atmosphere, celebrating the changing of the seasons. And, I woke up on that night and the room was spinning. And I said to myself, maybe it's just too much wine. And I tried to get back to sleep. I couldn't. And I woke up in the morning. I went to look in the mirror, Kevin, and I couldn't even see myself in the mirror. And the left side of my face was ash. My face was ash gray. And the left side of my face was drooping. And I went to go put my right hand out in front of me, touch to see if I can see it. And I didn't even understand what my hand was. So I knew something was going on. I thought I was
Yeah.
dying. I
Hmm.
thought I was dying. And then immediately I called for my ex-wife and said to Stephanie, you got to call my dad, my dad was a retired surgeon, retired doctor, OBGYN actually. And he said to call the paramedics immediately. I think my son's having a stroke. And Kevin, I didn't know what a stroke was. I didn't know. I was immortal.
Hmm.
I was very healthy at the time. And sure enough, I was having a massive stroke, and it was 6 weeks post the choke. So normally with a stroke, I tell people look for signs, and the signs are fast, which means face, arm, speech, and timing. And
Hmm.
usually you have about 4 hours to get what's called a declotting agent put into the body that's going to break up the clots going in the brain, so there's no disability and there's no long-term repercussions of the stroke. Mine was 6 weeks or 3 weeks post. We didn't know how I was even alive. So I went to the EMTs came to get me. They did a great job. They transferred me to one hospital in Paso Robles, which is French hospital, a little small hospital, and the emergency doctor on hand tried to do his evaluations, and he couldn't. And they called down to Santa Barbara. They were either going to call to Santa Barbara or call up to Stanford, which is near San Jose, because
Hmm.
both those had stroke centers. And lucky enough, they called down to Santa Barbara, and there happened to be a neurosurgeon on Black Friday in the emergency room ready for me. I mean, it was like one of these things where I think God was on my side, because by seconds I was dying. And
Hmm.
a massive amounts of oxygen and blood in the brain, the body's going to die. I mean, it's not going to be able to make it. So they they were going to transport me from one hospital to Santa Barbara, which was probably about an hour and a half ride. And Dr. Zonder in Santa Barbara said he doesn't have time. He ordered a helicopter, medevaced me from Paso Robles down to Santa Barbara, where I came in there within seconds. He evaluated me, ran some quick scans and tests on me, and realized that I had a clot the size of a baseball in the right side of my throat
Oh,
that was
wow.
just ready to burst. It was bursting. And he immediately started to assess the situation. And I kept coming in and out of consciousness, not really understanding what was happening, but I knew I was crossing over. I knew this was it for me. And he ran some tests, realized he needed to put a shunt in the right side, in my neck to stop the carotid artery from keep on sending clots to the brain. He put a shunt in first. That didn't work. So then they waited a couple of days to see if my brain would just, decrease the swelling, but it kept swelling up so bad that that the next step, what he had to do was induce me into a 10-day coma. And they
Wow.
thought the coma was going to help, but that didn't help either. So then he had to do what's called a craniectomy, which means he had to actually remove a piece of the skull off my head and to reduce the swelling. And understand, please get that I don't know what's happening to me. I've never heard of any of these terminologies. I didn't even know what a neurosurgeon was. I
Hmm.
mean, I didn't know what a craniectomy was. I thought stroke happens with elderly people and someone not of my age, because I'm fine. I'm immortal. I'm gonna live forever. I built these companies. I'm a great dad. I'm great in the community. This is not happening to me. So so he did these three moves on me, the coma, the craniectomy. And then when I came out of the coma, I wasn't able to speak. I wasn't able to talk. I didn't understand simple math. I didn't understand simple verbiage. And then my brain was that of a 3-year-old kid. So I had two kids, one kid 18 months and the other was 4 years old. And now I am in diapers myself at 3 years old with the brain of a 3-year-old at the age of 40.
Hmm.
And a neurosurgeon started seeing, Dr. Zahner started seeing my comeback, and he started to see that I wanted to speak and wanted to do things. So he immediately ordered, the therapist in the ICU, which is not usually done, OT, PT, and speech. And again, I'd been 175 to 180 pounds of pure muscle. I'm now down to 135. And I'm emaciated. I mean, there's nothing left of my body because I just lost everything I just gained over the last several years.
Hmm.
And he started to work on me, and I started to come back slowly. And then when I got moved to Santa Barbara, the first neuropsychiatrist who got a hold of me basically said to me, San Diego, I was in Santa Barbara, I moved back down to San Diego where I was living, said to me, oh, you're your brain is dead and you're not going to walk or talk or drive a car for a long time and don't think about even doing much anything else, but you're staying here. And I looked at her, not being able to talk, and said, don't tell me I can't do anything. Don't tell me I'm not going to do this or that. And that motivated me really to get my ass in a high gear and start moving. And I just had to really give it up to the therapists and the surgeons and doctors that I needed to pay attention and do what they said, what I had to do. And I put my mind to it. It's really about mindset for me. And then I was able to progress. And 8 weeks post this neuropsychiatrist saving me, I was going to walk in. I walked out of that hospital with assisted a cane, and then a walker. But I immediately moved through inpatient acute care in San Diego, and they did a great job on me. They did a great job. Understand, I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't transport myself from the bed to the bathroom. I was really, really just in bad shape. And then, the whole team of physiatrists out there, and then all the therapists really got together and put me back to a place of where I wanted to be. Because I went into this not knowing that, hey, I was hanging out with Navy SEALs. My best friends were all professional fighters with the UFC. So I had the mentality already stating that nothing's going to knock me down and that I wanted to walk for my daughters. I had to find the why and my inspiration.
Right. But how awful to have someone just tell you, you just woken up out of a coma, you just kind of transferred and said, well, that's pretty much your life over. Good luck. I mean, that's awful.
Believe it or not, and this is not to knock the doctors. The doctors are great. The neurologists, the MDs, the neurosurgeons are fabulous. The issue is the system is a bit messed up, because once you leave the medical world, and you leave your MDs and you leave your doctors, and you get put out into the community, there's really no game plan or system, and you kind of feel helpless about how do you even navigate these waters. Yeah. Here's my dad, who's a doctor, but he's an OBGYN. He knows, he delivered babies, thousands of babies. What does he know about the brain? And through, I say desperate measures, but the share of hard work, and I wanted to get better. I wanted to get better, Kevin. I wanted to show myself and my daughters what's possible. Because so many people get stuck in the I can'ts, hence my mantra, which I created, I can, I shall, I will, has stuck with me, and people have taken that now and tattooed themselves with it, because I believe I can help anyone take the first step if I can get them to smile. And really, it's all about giving people hope, the confidence, and understanding that there is a light in that dark tunnel, because we all get stuck there, and the amount of depression which comes in, the amount of just hard determination, and we feel lonely. We feel like we become invisible, because here I am, able-bodied, and now I'm paralyzed, paraplegic. I'm paralyzed. Literally half my body is paralyzed. My left eye isn't working. My left ear, I couldn't hear. I couldn't see. I had to learn to swallow again. I had to learn how to do everything at the age of 40. I questioned the why me. I questioned God, and then I realized after over all these years, it's real interesting, because I realized now I say to everybody, why not me? Because now this is a gift, and I've taken that traumatic experience and make it into a triumph, and be able to speak and do and give to others. Hence, I've been nicknamed the stroke hacker, because I can show people not just the survivor, but the family members. Because everyone who suffers a stroke, they touch 7 other people, whether it's their loved ones, their spouses, their kids, their life partners, their therapists. People need to hear a voice, someone who's gone through it. It's great to hear it from a doctor, but unless you've been through the experience yourself, you can't relate. Right. And I've made it my mission, really, Kevin, to go out there and build a community. I'm just finished up my master course right now, which gets released next month on my Stroke Hacker website. Strokehacker.com is where you can find everything. And my whole thing is I want to help people regain their independence, because nobody wants to be left paralyzed and just in shambles, because it's tough. Yeah. So you make it sound pretty straightforward, but were there ever times when you thought, I can't do this? I'm done. I'm beaten. Yes. Suicide approached me. The suicide rate right now for a lot of people with traumatic brain injuries is very high, especially among stroke. I mean, let's talk about our veterans for a second, or just the military. There's over 80 80 of our veterans a day who are killing themselves because there's nowhere to go. The pandemic has come in, has crushed these outpatient rehabilitation centers, and these people don't feel connected and they don't know how to get somewhere. And we take away, the community side of it, then it really just hurts them mentally and emotionally. I tell everybody there's two kinds of paralysis, one above the neck and one below the neck. I think the one above the neck is worse than the one below the neck because eventually the body's going to heal. I do believe that, but the emotional side of it, the roller coaster of not being able to use your left side and having to regain just the ability to walk, the vertigo, the understanding, the fear of falling, there's so much fear and anxiety just with that survivor. They're trying to regain themselves. And then how are they supposed to work? How are they supposed to make money? How are they supposed to provide for themselves? And here I am lucky enough to have had really good insurance and some money saved up that I was able to get the extra therapy needed. So I was able to go from, the ICU in Santa Barbara back down to Santa Barbara, where they put me in inpatient post-acute care. And then I went to community reentry. I went to home health. I went back to outpatient. So I was able to get extra hours extended where most people are not given that. Most people are given. How do you give someone 100 hours of therapy and expect them to start walking again? It's next to impossible.
Right. So I'm Kevin McCormack, and you're listening to Talking About Regeneration, the podcast from the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine. We're talking today with Sean Entin, a stroke survivor and the founder of Stroke Hacker. So talk to us about Stroke Hacker. Where did the idea come from? What is it?
Sure. It was it really started because someone told me way back, probably 5 years ago, probably like 8 years ago, they said to me, you should be documenting your experience back. And I was like, how do I even do that? Because, technology came across so fast. And here I am being isolated and healing. And I said, how do I do this? And they said, just get on Facebook and just start recording 5 minutes a day. So I named a show called 5 Minutes with Shawnee. That's what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
I got on. In the beginning, I said, this is going to be dumb. No one's going to listen to me. I'm sitting here holding my phone, trying to figure out the camera on me. And I started talking into it. And sure enough, I maybe had no followers. And within time, I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds start following me just on Facebook.
Right.
And I didn't even know.
But there's a big stroke community on Facebook. I think there's a lot of people out there looking for help.
Yeah, what's so funny, Kevin, I didn't even know what a podcast was. I mean, here I am because, like I said, I went down in 2011, and all those years up until now, technology has changed. So I started doing that, and then I started my own podcast called Adventures in Health, where I would bring different influential people that were, neurologists, therapists, and what I really wanted to do was I covered people's story from the road to recovery and on the road to recovery, because I was so interested of what inspired other people that along their way they may have met a really cool MD, that they may have found a new biotech company, they may have come across some kind of biohacking, something that's going to wake up the brain, something that's going to be able to give that person an extra edge. Because I think there's so many solutions out there for so many people, and Western medicine is wonderful. The doctors are great here, but there's a whole Eastern philosophy side of things that people don't even know about. It's just, I believe in deep tissue massage. I believe in things that need to get the lymphatic system working, and then how to probe, how to probe the brain. There's something called neuroplasticity, which I'm sure people know about on your show. But if you have to reroute that part of the brain that is dormant or I don't want to say dead ever, it's just dormant or sleeping, you have to rework the brain. I call it, you got to come through the back door. And so how do you knock on that, amygdala or the hippocampus and connect that to the frontal lobe? Well, there's ways to do it that by working with certain speech therapists or just certain games or activities, or maybe hyperbaric chambers or live O2s like I have in my house. So I went out there in the world, started talking and said, hey, send me your products. Let's see what you have. Let's see if these work. And something that's always been interesting to me is stem cells. But stem cells, as we know, is very tough and hard to find in California. And now that you guys are doing this, I commend you on it. And thank you, because I think what you guys are going to do is really going to make a difference, because I think I'm in that period of time at the moment that that, in 20 to 30 years, if not sooner, someone who has a stroke or spinal cord injury, they won't have to deal with the after effects of what people like me will go through, because I think stem cells will be there. And hey, you had a stroke, you had a spinal cord injury, let's give you some stem cells and we'll get you back up. It's kind of like a hip replacement. 20, 30 years ago, if you need a new hip, it wasn't an outpatient procedure. Now you go in, you come out. And I think technology with medicine and with what's going on with stem cells, that's the future. And that really is.
Right. So what does the Stroke Hacker program do? What kind of skills do you teach people?
A lot, a ton of that is just the mindset and giving people hope and the belief. Because if they're not going to believe in what I'm going to share with them and the program, but what I do is in my class, I take them from day one when that survivor has a stroke all the way through 10 years out. So I'm able to explain to them every step of the journey. Hey, they just had a stroke. They're being assessed now by the doctors, and then everything from staying in the hospital, if they need surgery, if they don't need surgery, what does a neurologist do? What does a neurosurgeon do? What does a social worker do? What does a physical therapist do? What is speech therapy? What's OT? So I walk them through everything. And along the way, I'm giving them tips and hacks on how to do this. And finally, when they're out of the hospital and they come back home, there's, and they're alone. Like, how do they even, walk around their house? What do they need? Because everything's got to be adaptive care. Bathroom hacks, kitchen hacks. How do you cook your own food? How do you prepare your own food? When's the right time to start to drive? How do you even maneuver in the shower, in the bathroom? Because if you're barely able to hold on, how does that all work? And my biggest thing is, along the way, you're such a risk for falling that people don't think of simple things like bathroom mats that when you walk on the tile floor of the bathroom, if that bathroom floor is wet or slippery and you fall, you're back in the hospital. It's like a full reset. And lucky enough, I never had that happen to me, but I've seen other people and watch other people, and I give people hope. And I help marriages. My marriage was definitely we're now divorced, and she's a great woman. She's a great mom, but how does someone hold on to 2 young kids and then a husband who's barely able to make it? It's tough for everybody.
Yeah. So what kind of results have you seen with the people you've been working with?
Several of my clients, one got back to work. Tony Baudet, who is amazing. He actually took my logo, my mantra, I can, I shall. Well, he actually tattooed his forearm with it. He was, I think, 52 at the time of when this happened. And he's now back to being working in a huge bank in Washington State. And he's coming back. I'm working with another gentleman right now who was a former Air Force veteran who had a stroke while serving in the military. And he found me, and I'm working with him, getting him back to speaking again and working with his kids. And he now wants to take the stage and he wants to give back. So I'm all about helping people find discover their powers and say, hey, this is a gift. This might be a tough journey right now, but once you get through these points, you're then going to affect other people, because I want to be of service to those people, and then I'll help them be of service to people with strokes as well.
Right. So a lot of people are going to be skeptical about this, wondering what that medical professionals don't. How do you respond to those doubts, to the skeptics?
It's so easy. I mean, it's so easy. I've got I call him a good friend, Dr. Carmichael at UCLA, who's the chief of neurology at UCLA here in Southern California. He is a PhD MD, wonderful person. He's my doctor, and we could talk about things. He's never lived through a stroke, and I hope he never will. So I'm giving him real feedback. Yeah, this guy's a genius and been in school, but he doesn't know what I know, because I'm living proof of it. So I'm able to bring people through this and tell them what works for me. Will it work for somebody else? Majority of the time, it's going to help them do something, but my answers are not everything. No one has all the answers to the brain, because it's a complex organ that if I can give them a little bit of hope and they can see me and see everything I'm doing, because most people, I said, hey, am I going to ever walk again? Well, I've done 2 5Ks, I've done a 10K. I'm going to get ready to do a half marathon soon. I want to walk. I want to walk for those who can't walk for themselves, and I want to speak for those who can't speak for themselves. And I want to be that person to really give them just inspire them and really for them to look inside themselves and go, you know what, if Sean can do it, I can do it.
Right. So for people who've had a stroke, and as you talked about the loved ones, the people who are helping take care of them, what piece of advice do you have that you think is really probably the most important to get started with anyway?
Be patient and rest a lot. As much as you do with your therapy, it's important. The brain needs downtime. And whether that's meditate or do breath work, something that's going to calm the nervous system, because right now their nervous system is in fight or flight. And my whole job is to reduce that cortisol level of the brain, because cortisol is like the active cocaine in the brain. And I want to get them out of the fight or flight. And I want them to be able to push more serotonin and more dopamine to their brain. And that way, if they're in a flow state and they're not, and their nervous system isn't going, haywire, just crazy, and I can get them to focus on me, then we can do it. And simple things too about diet, because right now their body's inflamed. I want to get them to produce glutathione in their body, which is going to help them reduce the inflammation. Because if the body's inflamed and lethargic, nothing's going to work. Reduce certain foods, sugars, alcohol, and everything else. But there's also a lot of other really good foods and that you can do to feed the body to help the body heal the brain. Because I believe the microbiome is the other brain, is called the brain in the belly.
Right. So what does the future hold for you now?
Oh, I'm going to be building the biggest global community on the planet. I'm going to be building a live show where I'm going to have you come on, of course, and we'll talk about you. But I want to have thousands of people come weekly to come see the show. It's almost, imagine kind of like a Jimmy Kimmel or a Fallon or like an Ellen, where I want people to, I'll have Dr. Carmichael, he doesn't even know this yet, come on and be my guest. And I want the people to interact and then ask him the questions.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is really to be a power of influence and to inspire and to give them hope. It's all about, it really is, it's mindset, Kevin. It's all about mindset. Because you can have the best therapies and the best everything, but if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in what you're doing, you're not going to get anywhere. Right. And part of that show, and I'll do breakout rooms also. So I'll let them meet other stroke survivors. And I want to build a community where, during the week and during the, certain times, we'll be able to have courses or classes, and I'll get speech therapy offer them. I'll get OT offer them. And just because they might be in Europe or they might be here or South America, they're going to be able to find something that works for them. And that's my biggest goal. Great.
So how do people find out about Stroke Hacker?
Strokehacker.com, just the way it's spelled. STROKEHACKER.com. Strokehacker.com.
Great.
Or just look me up, Sean Entin, and you can find it.
Yeah. I look forward to being on that show.
You're going to be on that show. I would love that. We'll book you soon, because we're still putting it all together, which is going to be fun. But I want to say this too. I want to say this. It's like, just because you guys think it's impossible, the word impossible only means I am possible. And no one should ever tell anybody they can't do anything, because anything can go. When they first told me, the normal books state that you have 18 months to regain everything. I'm 10 years post. I'm seeing new things happen to me all the time. I come across stuff every day. I mean, I'm now getting, my gait's getting better. My vision just came back. My hearing came back. My skin's looking better. I'm doing things that longevity wise and vitality wise, I'm getting stronger and better than I've ever have. I'm back to where I was at 39, and I'll have full movement on my whole body with the next 2 years.
Well, you look great. You sound great, and you certainly got a great message. So, Sean, thank you so much for joining us today and talking about this amazing journey that you've made, not just for you, but for all the other people who you're helping take along on the journey. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And I want to say this, Kevin, I say this to everybody. I love you, and I love you for what you're doing. Thank you. And God bless you for what you're doing, because I think what you're going to bring together is you're going to bring our community together. Instead of us being so divided, you're going to unite them, because stem cell is definitely it's coming around. And with what you guys are doing in your group and your team, it's going to make a difference. It's going to help not just my children, but my children's children someday.
Yeah. Well, we hope to make a difference, but you already are making a difference. So, Sean, thank you. And I'd like to thank everyone for listening at home in the car or the shower or wherever you take your podcasts. And we'll see you next time on Talking About Regeneration.
Thank you.